Hello jewelers, welcome to another video. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Megan Collins. I am a jeweler, been a jeweler for 8 years, and I help jewelry designers grow and scale their jewelry businesses without feeling completely overwhelmed and underpaid. So in this video, I'm going to go through a topic that a lot of my students in the Consistent Sales Academy have been asking, which is the pros and cons of working in collections or making one-off pieces. So in this video, we're going to go over both the options and try and help you see what is best for you in your business. So first of all, let's look at customization. If you're making one-off pieces, then customization is obviously something that can quite easily fit into that style of working because each piece is individual and can be a custom order, or you can simply design and create one-off pieces yourself, but those can be easily adjusted according to somebody's wishes. If you show them, for example, a stone or something, and then you can have a conversation about what they would like done with that. So it's very unique and one of a kind. In terms of that as well, you can also discuss with them the size. Say for example it's a ring and you only have one piece, then you can discuss that with them. They can say, oh, can you add a little bit of something extra on it, and really make it something special and unique for them. So with the one-of-a-kind pieces, there's a whole lot of room for customization without it being too much of a stepping out of your comfort zone of what you're usually working with. On the other hand, when you're working collections, you can still offer customization in terms of for potentially engravings or things like that. But in terms of, on the whole, offering customized items when you make collections, it's going to be a lot harder for you to do that because it's also going to cost more if you're suddenly customizing a particular design that you have currently, because the design process and time involved in creating that isn't going to fall within the same price bracket that your collection items are. So that could leave a little bit of room for misunderstandings or miscommunications if you're not very clear that a customized item will cost you more. So in terms of that, customization in terms of collections is slightly harder but still doable. And the second point to discuss is production time. So when you're making collections and you have your design set, you've gone through the whole design phase for the collection and you're ready to go with all of that, then you can quite easily cut out all of the pieces for, say, your earrings, your necklaces, your rings. You can do things in kind of a production style. So you'd cut, solder, clean. I'm sure a lot of you maybe know exactly what I'm talking about here. And that can then reduce the time that goes into making each individual piece. Whereas on the other hand, if you're making one-off pieces, you got to go through the whole design process. You got to think through, how am I going to utilize this stone, for example? How am I going to create this piece? How can I make it different? How can I make it unique? So you are offering something really special and different and unique, but then your production time and your production cost is going to be a whole lot higher. So that's something to consider in terms of what you like to work with. Maybe you make collections, but then you have some one-off pieces on the side, but think about that production time and where you're spending your efforts and energies in terms of building your business, and see what makes the most sense for you. Next up, we've got availability. Say you're doing one-off pieces and you like to sell unique individual items. I'm not talking about custom work here, just to clarify. When I say one-off items, I mean, say you find specific gemstones and you make a particular necklace with that one and a particular ring with that one, and you just kind of work around that and you make one-off. So there's only one of each of those pieces. So custom work is something slightly different, but also does fit quite well into the one-off items. So when you're creating a one-off piece, then you obviously still need to photograph it, you need to advertise it, you need to promote it, you need to sell it somewhere so that you can then reinvest into the business and continue to grow like that. You'll need to do that with each and every piece that you make. So photographing it, promoting it, selling it, and all of that. Whereas on the other hand, if you're creating a collection, you're going to create the whole collection, photograph it all once, upload your pictures to your website or Etsy, wherever you're selling, and write your descriptions once, and then promote it as a collection. And then you can also do little individual promos for the individual items. So in that way, yes, you are doing more work because there's more pieces, but you do that once and it can continue to pay off for months or years because you've put that effort into that and you're going to continue to sell those items. So have a look at that and see which of those options works best for you. Maybe you make fewer items and you want to only be selling occasionally, but maybe you want to be selling more items. So personally, I prefer to work in collections because it saves me time, and I want to sell larger quantities of jewelry, and I don't have time to design new pieces all the time, and I'd rather make them once off and sell those as collections. They work well together, and it also really works well for shops, for example, where they will then take a body of work that works well together, and it'll sit really well alongside each other and look quite curated, and then potentially sell better because it's a really nice showcase of the brand and the aesthetic of the brand. And personally, this also really suits my lifestyle. So right now, for example, I'm sitting in my mother's garden in South Africa, and we're here for 2 months, and I don't need to be at my bench making to still be able to be selling while I'm away. So that is really, really great in terms of that. And that leads me on to another topic, which is scalability. When you're making a collection, obviously your designs are going to be set, they're there, you got the specifications, you got the measurements, you got all the materials there. So that's quite easy for you to then outsource the making, whether that is via somebody coming into your studio, you're expanding a little bit that way, or whether it is outsourcing it to a company, for example, that makes your pieces for you. It is easy for them to go about that. Whereas on the other hand, if you're making one-off pieces, then that's going to be a whole lot more expensive, a little more complicated, and potentially time-consuming, and you'll need to have a lot more resources at hand to be able to facilitate doing that and going that route. So that is something else to think about as well. And the next topic is price. So with a collection, you're going to have your set designs and your pieces that you create within that, and through the fact that you're making them regularly and you've got the process down, you don't need to spend any time on the design phase of things because you've already done all of that. The amount of time and cost per piece will be lower compared to a one-off item where your design time and all of your materials, you might need to buy a specific piece of silver sheet or wire to make a specific design for it to really work. That's going to take you more time to source those, to have those, to make those, and that will then increase the price of the one-off pieces. So those should not be sold at the same price. So selling one-off items at a higher price is a whole different system to selling your slightly more affordable pieces that are in your collections. And if you haven't seen my whole video on pricing jewelry with Basha from The Art of Metalsmithing, you guys have got to check that out. You will be absolutely and utterly shocked at the prices she was selling her one-off pieces for. I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. So if you haven't checked that out, check that one out. It's well worth a watch and will give you some confidence in terms of your pricing of your own jewelry. And the next topic is marketing. When you're making a collection, you have a number of items together, and you can market that either as a whole or as individual items with a highlight on specific pieces for different occasions. And you do all your photographing, like I said before, in one go. You do all your product descriptions and you create the story behind it, so it becomes very easy to talk about that and sell that and promote that in terms of your marketing. Whereas on the other hand, if you are making one-off pieces and potentially the story behind each piece is slightly different, you'll still need to photograph it, you'll still need to promote it, you'll still need to, wherever you are selling that piece, it's going to be a lot more work. And also another point on top of that is in terms of scalability and marketing, if you do plan on doing any Facebook ads later down the line, with collection items where you have multiples of the same one, that is a whole lot more viable and cost effective than it would be if you have one-off items, because there's a whole testing phase with Facebook ads. I'm not going to go into the details of that right now, but there's a whole testing phase, and then it's very expensive to do that if you just have one item, and it's not very viable in my personal opinion. And another topic is lead times. With collection items, ideally you have some items in stock, or if not, they're relatively quick and simple to make because you have the materials, you know how to do it, and you can go about it quite effectively and quite fast, which means that your customer will receive their necklace or ring within a certain amount of time, which is more within the expected time range. When you're making one-off pieces, people can wait a couple of weeks, a month, 2 months, depending on how complex it is and how much they want to be involved in the piece if it's a custom design. But if it's a one-off, nevertheless, you're going to be spending a lot of time in between each design creating that individual piece, so you'll have a lot less stock and not have as much ready to go to post out tomorrow. So maybe somebody inquires about it and they've just seen your post on Instagram and it's sold, then they maybe want one, but they might have to wait a month or two, potentially, depending on how complicated your pieces are, to get that piece. So that means your lead time will be a lot slower, and that might potentially be a factor in terms of repeat customers coming back because of the experience that they've had with that. But maybe your designs are quite quick and simple to make, even if they're one-off pieces and the lead time is shorter. Just something to think about. And another topic is repeat customers. It is much easier to have repeat customers where they buy something from you once, you nurture them, they have a fantastic experience and they come back for more. They also know what to expect from you because you have similar designs, you have a collection, maybe they like the ring and then they come back later for the necklace of the collection, and in that way they really have a good feel of the designs and the pieces that they're going to expect from you. So in that way it's really easy to build that repeat customer service. Whereas if you make one-off pieces, that might be slightly harder for you to do unless you have a very cohesive style within your one-off pieces. I just had a look in the back end of my Shopify and I can see that my return customer rate is 27%, which is extremely high. And that's because I pride myself in having good customer service, really going out my way to make sure that everybody's happy and they know what they're buying into. So they really often come back and check, do I have any new designs, because they really like my aesthetic. So that is something that is really great to work towards. And another topic is stock management. If you're making one-off pieces, it's a lot easier to keep track of your stock in terms of that, because you'll have fewer items, you know which ones are in stock, which ones are not. Whereas where you're working in a collection, then you might be needing to keep track of stock levels a little bit more, numbers, what's where, so that might be a little bit more complicated in terms of that. I personally used to always make collections as well as custom pieces and one-off items, but last year I decided that I'm not going to be taking on any more custom items or one-off pieces just because I don't have the time to do that. I want to focus on the collections that I do have and promoting those ones, as well as running my coaching business where I help jewelry designers grow and scale their businesses. And that is where I've been putting a lot of my energy lately. So if you, like me, want to have 10K months, then check out the link in the description to the Consistent Sales Academy, which is basically this massive course that I've created absolutely step by step through all the steps that I took to grow my jewelry business to where it is at now. And I've poured my heart and soul into that course, and there's over 100 video tutorials, screen sharing, showing you how to do different things and helping you get to where I am at now. So if you're interested, check that down below. You can also have a call with me if you're interested and have any questions about it. I'm always here and open for a chat, or pop a comment down below and let's connect. Anyway, that's it from me for this week. I hope you enjoyed this one and I look forward to seeing you next week in another video. Bye!